The deadlift and the squat are two fundamental movements when it comes to improving lower body strength and power. But there's a couple key things to really differentiate one from the other, because I often see people getting confused and really interchanging the key points of these exercises. So in this video, what I want to do is really show you how to break down the deadlift, show you how to break down the squat, so there's no question in your mind how to perform each exercise variation to see the most success. So first one, if we look at the deadlift is more of what's called a hip hinge pattern, which means we are using a little bit less knees and a little bit more hips as we come down. The key difference between deadlift and squat is squat has more of an upright position, so my eyes are forward, my chest is up, versus deadlift, I'm coming down, and you can see I'm really closing down this angle at the hip, so my chest is facing more down towards the ground than being upright. That's the key difference with those two. So just to watch a couple repetitions of the deadlift, if I start here with this variation, it's called the one dumbbell deadlift. The dumbbell is right between the legs, bending the knees, hips back, chest down as I allow my spine to come forward, and that's when my hands are coming into contact with the dumbbell. What's challenging in that position is as you start to increase resistance, it really starts to pull. The resistance will try to really round the shoulders and the spine forward. So you need to make sure you're maintaining good posture on this variation specifically. So sitting back into the hips, bending the knees, hands come right down to the dumbbell. As I come up, I'm driving up quads, glutes, hips forward, and then sitting back into the hips, chest come down as I lower back down. So you can see there's this hip drive on the deadlift because it's more of a hip dominant motion. Yes, I'm still bending the knees to some degree, but my hips are coming up and forward, and the glutes are really the prime drivers to help drive you vertical, but their action is actually horizontal. I'm driving my hips forward, which helps stand my body upright. Okay, so that's how you perform the deadlift. The squat, and specifically the goblet squat, is another great exercise, one you'll see in a lot of different exercise programs. Goblet position just means we're holding the dumbbell right up here to the chest. So to perform the squat, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, we're going to keep the chest and the spine more upright, sit back into the hips, but really bend more into the knees on this one. So foot position can vary depending from person to person. Some of you might prefer to be straight ahead, others could prefer to be turned out. It really depends on the angle and the positioning of your hip anatomy, so don't feel like you need to be locked in any specific position. You can alter that. In addition, width can be variable as well, okay? So find what position feels best for you, and this one doesn't have to be like anyone else. So to perform the squat, chest upright, get engaged in the core a little bit. I wanna make sure I'm not arching my back, sitting back into the hips, driving the knees out. You can see I'm maintaining that spine and chest up position as I lower down to the squat. Key thing with the squat now, because we're bending the knees more, is ensuring we're maintaining alignment of the legs. So if we think of ankle, knee, and hip, we want this somewhat vertical position. The squat compared to the deadlift is one where you'll see a lot of people either going too wide and allowing their knees to come in, or just not really positioning their feet and hips in the proper position that helps drive the knees out. So you can see I'm trying to position my knees in line with my second toe or wider, but not trying to go over the outside edge of the shoe. I really want to make sure my knees are not coming in, because that's a position that could potentially really stress the knee joint and really not helpful when it comes to running. So to perform the goblet squat, I would hold dumbbell to the chest, find my comfortable position of width, and then also rotation at the feet and the hips. And then from there, sitting back, chest up. Okay, so depending on your amount of range of motion, ankles, hips, spine will dictate how low you go on this. Ideally, we're trying to get down right around parallel, the thighs parallel to the ground. So sometimes sitting back to a bench, tapping the butt down and then coming back up is good, but always making sure I have good alignment of the knees. So those are some differences on how to properly perform the deadlift versus the squat.